that's the riff. All right. Joining me now, my very dear friend, the famed trade expert and former U.S. Trade Representative, Mr. Robert Lighthizer. Bob Lighthizer, welcome back. It's been a while. So give me your quick take. I'm sure I got many things wrong in my riff. I'm not a lawyer, but I want to hear tell me what you want to say on this one.
Well, first of all, let's remind ourselves what hasn't changed. President Trump's prescription that the old trading system has been bad has slowed economic growth for at least 30 years. It's slowed down American innovation. It's had drastic effects on our working people, on their wages, on their jobs, and a whole lot of other bad outcomes that have been very bad for the country. None of that has changed. It wasn't talked about by the Supreme Court. The president is going to change the system he started in the first term. It wasn't really altered very much in the Biden administration, and he's taking the logical next step now. This is something he's worried about and cared about, these working people and this economic growth, since he was 35 years old. None of that has changed. So he used IEPA. It was simple. It was flexible. I believe he had the better economic argument. The better legal argument. But the fact is, it was always potentially a problem that it would be overruled, and I think that the administration has prepared for that. They didn't talk about it. They're very smart lawyers. Jamison Greer knows how all this works. They have a backup plan. You saw the beginning of it today. It's going to be messier. It's going to be more complicated. It will not change the president's leverage at all on things about economic policy and trade. And I think in the final analysis, the tools we're going to use to correct this very bad situation is still going to be tariffs. And as the president has evolved into, it's going to be proportional. The worst countries are going to get the highest tariffs, and our friendly trading partners are going to get modest tariffs. And we're going to have a new regime that's going to turn the economy around, and it's going to help workers. And its longevity is not going to be dictated by the Supreme Court, but rather by the results we see in the next 2 or 3 years. So I see who's celebrating. It's none of the friends of working people in America, and I tell them not to celebrate, and the workers don't despair. The result is the president is still there. He's got the tools. He's going to get it done. And one last thing, I'd like to see Congress get involved. Congress ought to be giving the president some of this authority. I think there's a consensus in this Congress that we have to change the old system, and I hope that they will take this as an opportunity to do that.
I would say the reciprocal trade policy has been working. I mean, I think he's lowered a lot of barriers. He's brought a lot of money into the U.S. He's helped restore a lot of manufacturing activity. We're in the middle of a business capex boom between the trade reciprocity policy and the deregulation and the one big beautiful bill tax cuts. Bob, I mean, he's done tremendous. There's a boom going on. We didn't have a strong GDP today's number because of the Democratic shutdown, but basically we're in a boom. Anybody would say that. And I just don't know why the Supremes want to stick their nose into it. Because after all, here's another point. I made it when I sat down with him a week ago in the interview, but I've made it for several years now. Look, he uses trade and tariffs with foreign policy diplomacy. He uses them, and they use them hand in glove. And I don't see what's wrong with that. And that should be able to continue. And that's why I was hoping the Supremes would stay out of this, because it makes eminent sense. And that's IEPA. That's what the thing was all about.
Well, I agree with what you're saying. I think that Justice Kavanaugh had the right analysis. I've said that from the beginning. On the other hand, it is a question. I think the Supreme Court's function is a very narrow, very, very technical function.
Yes.
The president thinks there's politics involved. It's hard to say that there isn't with respect to the 3 liberal justices, but with respect to the other 6, I think they're honest people that took a look at it. They came to the wrong conclusion, in my opinion. But I just don't want it to deflect us away from the fact that we have a huge problem, and the president is solving that problem and is using tariffs. And on your GDP point, we have to remind ourselves trade deficits are subtracted directly from GDP. They are a, it's plus, net trade exports. You have net exports. So the reality is that we've seen a lot of these good numbers because the trade deficit is going down in the last several months. We combine that with economic growth, manufacturing increasing, particularly I think in the months ahead, manufacturing jobs, and the president will be proven right. And in 10 years, 5 years, everybody's going to forget about the Supreme Court part of it and remember what the president did to help working people.
See, here I am, a non-lawyer, and you and I are agreeing. You, a brilliant, distinguished trade lawyer whom I've known for many years. We both go all the way back to the Reagan administration, if such a thing is possible. And we just agreed, I think I heard you agree with me, that this was a technical decision by the Supremes. And that's why I say, it's much sound and fury signifying nothing. I don't even know why they had to do this. They could have saved everybody some angst. And then they walk away from the issue of returning the tariff revenues. I love that. They didn't even mention that in the thing. It's not that hard a thing for the Treasury to do. But they don't even bother to mention that. They just cut and run, for God's sakes.
Well, let me just say, Larry, on that point, that question wasn't really before the court. I like courts dealing with precisely what's in front of them. And that's something that's going to have to be worked out. And I think a lot of people have to sort of think it through. In the final analysis, my guess is that money is going to be refunded, except in cases where somebody, for some reason, has forfeited their rights. And I think that's a significant negative effect. But I mean, I'm just telling people on our side of the issue, on the president's side of the issue, this is really just a very small bump in the road, and not even one that was unpredictable. He has the right policy. It's really, really one of the most important things he's doing, and he's going to continue. And I think in the next year, it's going to show its success, and everyone is going to endorse it, everyone with any sense.
All right. I agree. I'm with you on this. Heck, you taught me so much of this trade stuff in the first term when we were on the China trade team. There's much more you and I can talk about. We'll do it in another segment. We're so delighted to welcome you back on the show. It's a rare Bob Lighthizer sighting.